Uh, Welcome once again, everyone, to another session. Um, Officially, we should, be starting IAC as infrastructure as code today, but because we've not covered, I think we not covered everything that uh, I'm expecting that we'll cover in AWS. Well, just some, if one or two other services that I think is, um, you know, um, may come in very handy, later. So I want to introduce those services to us, services that I use and I find really, um, useful. Yeah, around ending the cloud module without introducing you guys to those services I won't be comfortable. Yeah, and I mentioned that the Amplify is one of those services. Yeah, so again, we'll be rounding off cloud computing today. I know I want to believe, for those that have understanding of AWS, prior to this session, you have learned one or two other things, and those that don't even, that have not used any cloud provider, you know, um, have been able to go from like a zero level to some um, immediate or starter level. Yeah, so I want to believe we've all learned one or two things during this session, and we will be building on all of these things. So um, DevOps and a few other roles now um, actually have their foundation in the things that we have been doing, Linux, the understanding of not just Linux operating systems now, and then the terminal is very, very important. The ability to manage commands and what have you, which we started off with learning Linux. It's a very, very good foundation, especially for DevOps and also cloud computing. So I strongly am for, I'm of that school of thought that there's literally very few organizations that is not leveraging on one or two cloud computing services. So that is, using and the ones that have not even, started using, they're already planning to move to the cloud. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so the little knowledge that you have already so far again would take you places, and then we'll be building on all of these things. Yeah, so we have worked on a few projects, yeah, and we'll be rounding off with one or two other projects in terms that services that we've combined together. Yeah, use a few services to deploy something, and that's going to be the meat of the things you'll be doing mostly in the cloud, and then the understanding of those underlying principles, the VPC, the subnet, and all of those networking components. Yeah, I want to believe even for those that are still struggling, if you go over those videos, yeah, I'm sure one or two of those things would come together. Yeah. Right. So welcome once again, everyone, to this final session of AWS. There's still room for us to. We'll still continue learning because our ISC module will be deploying AWS services. Yeah, even though we'll start off with some general um, ISC concepts. If you think that there's always the theoretical part to every um, you know, tool. Yeah. So yeah. So our agenda for today is basically, we are just is what we talked about. We're just continuing from where we stopped yesterday. We deployed our highly available dynamic web application yesterday. I also shared the resources that you guys will be needing to for those that I hope everybody is able to even build, work on that project from end to end, because there are quite a number of moving parts there. And if you can actually deploy this particular application, trust me, if you talk to any hiring manager, you understand all of the steps, and then you're able to talk about it, is enough to land you that role, and so I'll still implore you guys to try to get your hands, uh, work on it. Yeah. So the S3 buckets, you guys should quickly download that's web file. It's very, very important because I may decide to delete it anytime soon. It's not a very large file, so it won't incur too much cost, but still, I don't like to dash AWS, even if it's a cent. Yeah, so today we'll be moving, continuing and then just rounding off with a few other services. Again, like I said, I really strongly, believe that you guys would find useful, when you find yourself land any role, in the cloud. Amplify, Elastic Beanstalk, they are platform as service offerings, and they. So Amplify, Elastic Beanstalk, I think, like I said yesterday, is like it was introduced after Amplify. Yeah, in as a bid to, so I usually call it like the senior brother of um, Amplify, in that it gives you more customization. Yeah, we'll see all of this when we actually use them to deploy, applications. We'll deploy an application each on the different services. I'll try as much as possible not to rush things, but so because I want us to actually work on this final project, this control servers using AWS serverless service offering of AWS. Yeah, it's actually Lambda is very, very broad. Not just serverless now. Is broad. So I'll try as much I'll try to break it down to the barest minimum. But I want to believe this particular project would, in a way, give us, because there are so many use cases to using serverless, and then yeah, we'll try to understand each project. I said we learn by doing. We've been learning by doing. Yes, Adford, I see your hands up. Usually the
Yes, sir.
general question should be after we finish all of this, but you can go ahead and ask.
Oh, okay.
No.
No, I want to find out maybe another compute service. I don't know whether you can introduce us as well. Maybe Fargate, AWS Fargate. Any
So
project on that one?
Lambda, and Fargate, they are serverless offerings.
Oh,
Fargate is a newer, I say, version or service now that allows you deploy serverless, architecture. Yeah, so you use either Lambda or Fargate. Well, Fargate is more of containerized workload. So there's no way I would talk about Fargate and I won't have to give you a foundational um, knowledge, or at least talk about containers. Yeah, so it's something that I wish we could, well, we would need a full session to talk about, serverless, if we are going to do this. In the context of Azure, is it? I'm not very, very sure. Serverless Azure. Ah, Balumi, yeah, always taking me back to Azure. Azure, I've not uh, used Azure in a minute, yeah, but ah, serverless Azure. It's not. It's app. No, not app service. App service is Elastic Beanstalk. Function app. Yeah. So yeah. So again, Fargate is kind of new. So I'm not very sure if Azure has. I think it's Logic Apps now. Is it Azure Functions now?
Azure,
Is it Logic Apps?
AWS, from what I'm seeing here, the equivalent to be Azure Container Service.
No, 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 no. That
No, I don't know. I don't know how correct that is, but that's what
um,
I'm seeing on
container
Reddit.
container service. I think Azure, AWS has its own ACR container repository.
Yes.
Yeah, ACS and ACS or ACR. Yeah. So I think Logic app.
So
Uh,
there's ACR,
mm,
there's ACA. That I'm talking about. There's container registry, there's container apps in Azure. So when you said something about container in Fargate, I was thinking, could it be container apps, or I don't, I haven't worked with
so
Logic apps before,
serverless
so I'm not sure.
basically. So if when we talk about containers now, we and services that allow you deploy um, applications to containers, say your web app for containers now, or your app runner in AWS.
Yeah, this is
So
another one. Container
uh,
instances. Check. Yeah. This is
there are,
another one. There's
again,
container instance too.
the number of tools that are available, guys, it can be overwhelming. So until you actually have a reason to
To
uh,
use them.
use these things,
Okay, so it is. I found it. It's a Azure Container Apps. That's
uh,
what it's called.
Uh,
So I'm gonna
So
drop a
I
link.
think it's Azure function. So if you check that
No,
document,
it's
Wait,
hey,
not
let me.
function.
says
you should
Azure.
leave Azure for now. Let's focus
It
on
was
it.
stated
Whatever, I'm
clearly.
not finished. Pelumi, look at what you have caused.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. See, most of all these resources that I was saying on AWS, my way of relating with them is if I can compare them
Because
to
you have
something that
moved
I've worked with.
into
Yeah,
Azure.
so that's the way
So I'll
that's the way
share
I
you a
understand
link,
them.
something similar to, I think, yeah, exactly architecture, exactly what Bliss just shared now. Yeah, um, that compares the different um, services, on both Azure and AWS. I think it's even Microsoft actually did, it's a Microsoft learned the Microsoft uh, that gives you a comparison of what the service is called on AWS, and then you can just bookmark that link to do your world of good so that when we talk about a particular service, you can quickly look it up there and then uh, um, relate with it in Azure. So it
Okay.
makes sense. Again, I think, I don't know if it's in this class I mentioned it, that when I was learning AWS, actually, I was learning Azure, self-studying Azure. I was in a boot camp learning AWS and I was self-learning Azure. I tried, exactly what you were doing, but it almost confused me. So I just decided to learn Azure's services, try to use them so that, if I deploy something on AWS and I need to, do it on Azure too, it was easier. Relating yeah, both fun and confusing. I learned by actually preparing for certification. So I had thank God for the Microsoft Learn platform. Very wonderful tool. Whatever application certification you want to take in Azure, I think that's the best place to actually study. But again, let's come back to AWS. Yeah. Like I said, we would try to cover all of these things today. So before we jump into any other thing, I'm just briefly going to um, share my whiteboard. Where's the whiteboard? Stay then again. Hey guys, I'm trying to share my whiteboard, but it's not. Zoom and just trying to frustrate somebody. Why are you not within source loading failed? And load the existing whiteboard or let's try a new one. Can't load a new whiteboard, but I can load the existing one. So I'm going to use an existing one and then just Whiteboard is not loading. All right. Existing whiteboard is actually loading, but new ones are not. Yeah. All right, guys. Can you guys see the whiteboard?
Still loading.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
Cool. So I'm just going to walk us really fast through like an end-to-end workflow of the different things that I think it's necessary that you guys have this understanding of how things go from end to end, because this knowledge will actually help I yes to understand better how platform as a service, some services, some platform as a service offerings actually work, which are Amplify and a few other AWS services that in stock also actually works in terms of taking code, so our application source code, from a source code management tool, and then releasing it to different environments. So our developers now, you pardon my drawing, I'm not a very good artist. The developers have their code, we have the developers here. We have our developers on their local machine. Developers, I can't spell today. Hey, you guys, pardon my spelling now. Don't know what. We have our developers, they've written their app, have our application source code now. Using your mouse to write is really hard. We have our application source code. I'm sure we all are familiar with that term, application source code. Now we've used it time and again. So they write their code on their local machine. This is local machine now, and then that is checked into some source code management. I'm just going to reference this source code management. We have Git championing that's distributed. We have, so I will, when we get to infrastructure as code proper, I will be introducing us to very briefly to, we'll just talk about the different source code management that we have. They are distributed and centralized source code management. Well, the distributed one is quite popular today, and Git is like the Git makes is like leading in the distributed source code version control system called version control and source code management. They use them interchangeably. Yeah, so Git is the technology now that allows different platforms, to be able to kind of manage repositories, yeah, and even allows you to manage repository. The developer also can have, a repository locally on his local machine, and then able to, connect to, say, some remote repository. So this is like a remote repository, and then we have different providers of, remote repository. GitHub is still kind of leading in that regard, I think. We have other options also. We have Bitbucket. We have the Azure repos, which is part of the Azure DevOps tool case. Azure repos. Did you say something now, Palumi?
I
Azure.
thought DigitalOcean was in the mix.
DigitalOcean is a cloud service provider.
Oh yeah, okay. Cloud service provider. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have Circle CI, Bitbucket, Circle CI, quite a number of them now offering, source code management. AWS also had, should I say had? Yes, so I think they discontinued it. They have their code, is it, what's the name of this tool? Yeah, sorry. Code commit now. Yeah, I think. Yeah, but they've discontinued that service now. Yes, so we have a few of them. In GitLab also is in there, SQL CI and Argo CD also. We have quite a number of source code managers here. So the developers checking their code in here. And in fact, we have IT ops also. Again, you guys will be wearing multiple hats. IT ops. So IT ops basically, the provision infrastructure using code, and that's what we'll be going into, when we talk about IAC. So we have different, IAC tools in here. IAC, Terraform. You can write your cloud. Your yes, CloudFormation template also, but we'll be focusing on Terraform now. You can write your configuration and checking into version control also. So you can, anything you can actually, so we have Terraform and then all of the proprietary, the cloud proprietary one, CloudFormation. We have, I think Azure Resource Manager.
ARM.
Azure Resource Manager also in there, all of those tools. You can write configurations, check them into version control. So it will be part of your mutable infrastructure that you can, but this is where we are going to in our next session. Yes, in our next session. So all of the code that is being checked into this source control gets built, gets compiled depending on what framework now that's being used to that developers use now, whether Java or Node.js or Python, what have you now. There is a way that those code is kind of packaged, bundled together, so that it can then be deployed to different environments. So that's part there is so it's a technology or a terminology that we use, when we have that automated. We call it CI, as continuous integration. Again, all of these things, you guys just bear with me for now. Continuous. I cannot spell today, so you guys would pardon my continuous integration. So that's basically taking all of our source code, and then building it. So we have that build step. We have quite a number of tools also that we can use in automating this. So we have that build step. So we can have, once our code is being pushed or checked into version control, it gets pulled by, different tools. We have tools that we use in doing this. Jenkins is still at the forefront of this. It's like your grandpa. Yeah. So we have Jenkins. I can't use spell today. There's GitHub Action, which is my favorite because it's very, very easy. I don't like work. And because it basically fits into GitHub, I use GitHub a lot. And so GitHub Action also is, a tool. All of this, they are tools, even though they can be kind of featured into other tools. Again, most of the tools that you'll be using, you'll see that you can use a tool inside a tool. Yeah, just like you can, from inside an AWS service, you can also, create another service or use another service. All of those tools literally work together. So we have quite a number of them. We have Azure, the Azure So Azure GitHub, Azure DevOps, we have quite a number of suite of tools inside of Azure GitHub. We have GitLab, Circle CI, and quite a number of tools that helps you achieve continuous integrations. Yeah, you call them CI tools. They have, so they kind of help you compile your app or package it. So and then after compiling all of those code, bundling it together, it generates an artifact, some artifact for you. I will call them artifacts. Yeah, so artifact basically is a packaged application. All of those source code, it's a packaged app. Okay. I hope you guys can see my writing. Feels like it's a chicken that is writing. Yeah. And so after all of those code has been bundled, and then that's when it gets deployed or released to we have a step now. We can call it, some call it deploy, some call it release. It's a release step. So all of these things, they are different steps. Again, this is how kind of looking at the software development lifecycle from so we have different parts to software development, so the SDLC. So this is like the parts, after the code has been written now, and then we need to implement or install that application, release it to different people to use. So we can have different environments. We can have the dev environment. This basically is like a test bed for the developers. So this is because you can have multiple developers working, writing, working on a particular, project application now, and then this is representing just one developer. Whatever it does on his local machine now, other developers don't have access to it. And so to foster collaboration, to make, applications can get really, really complex now. And so one person, would, ordinarily is magic. So I have developers and they say they make magic. Yeah, and truly it is magic. Yeah. And so many moving parts. And so one person alone, if you look at some schemas, you're going to get lost with number of relationships and all of those things. And so you have tons of developers working on a particular project, and then you want them all to be able to see, apart from what they're working. So you have front-end developers, you have back-end developers, and then the front-end guys are consuming the APIs that the back-end guys are doing. And so as an entity, as one developer now, you don't see the big picture of the application. So a development environment now where all of the work that's been done by 10, 15, 20 developers now is kind of they see it all come together. It's not just from their local machine now. Yeah. So even though they have the option to both pull from that version control system, and then they can kind of mimic that development environment and environment on their local machine to see how, if whatever feature they're working on, how it actually fits in, especially if it's an existing application, so they can see if they're working on new features. They can see, okay, yes, I'm trying to add a button to a part of the application, so they can also always pull in the code and then run locally. Yeah, but there should always be like a development environment, for all of them to make sure, see that their code is doing what the product managers have outlined for them actually to do. And then we can have our production environment, which is like the entry now, or the environment that our users actually interface with, there. And usually you have, again, a staging or a test environment again, it's called different things depending on different users. You can call it staging, you can call it test. So this is like a mirror. It's a mirror of your production environment. This is where your QA guys, you have, quality assurance guys, they carry out user acceptance tests, and beta testers also, they do all of those things. So basically, before you go to production, you have an environment that's, again, is similar to your production, where you can carry out more tests to be sure that, yes, your application actually does what it does. So that's release step in all of this life cycle, is where your deployment is done, deploying to the different environments. And yeah, a few other things also can be done. We have quite a number. So every part of this, testing, I don't want to go into testing. Testing is kind of integrated into each and every one of these, and it's a never ending thing. Even when production, even though some people say it's very, very wrong to test in production, but your users will test your application for you, and then things that you didn't even, your QA guys did not catch on the staging environments will be caught on production. So yeah, integration tests that can be done even before you release. You can have again, all sorts of tests in the build phase. Before, as the application is building, your developers could have written unit tests. You can have static code analysis being done as your application is as the build is being done by whatever tool that you use. So all of these things you guys will be learning as part of when you get to the DevOps module. Yeah, so well, I just thought it necessary that I introduce also. Even after this, after you have done deploying to your production, there is a final, there's another step here, or another stage now. So monitoring is also like testing. It's never, as long as your application is up and running, you monitor and then you maintain the application. So this is an infinity kind of thing, yeah. So that also is there, but yeah, we have tools again that helps monitor your application to be sure that it is up and running at all times, yeah, and what have you. So this again is a very, very watered down version of an application deployments, from source code to different environments. And so I talking about this now, bringing this up because we would, the service that we want to learn about now is going to kind of abstract all of this stages for us. It's going to abstract it. So it's going to take our source code now and then send it directly to say release now. It's going to help us kind of release to the different environments. It's all we need to do is just worry about the code that is being pushed to the source code management. What is this that is coming up on my screen? Yeah, so I hope this is clear, guys. So before we jump into chats, you guys are sending chats.
You didn't mention the CD part. You mentioned the CI part.
So CD is when that packaged application now is released to its continuous delivery. Sorry, I actually skipped my mind. So we have continuous delivery here. Continuous deliveries, deployments, they are a thin line between those already, actually. So when that artifact now is released to the different environments, so all of that step, we use CI/CD. It's like they're like a pack, continuous integration, continuous delivery. But the continuous integration part is when your source code now is bundled, built, compiled, whatever, and all of those, the unit test, the static code analysis, maybe if your application has scripts that needs to be generated, and some infrastructure configuration checking, especially if you have, IT ops, checking in some form of creation, that end-to-end mutable infrastructure inside of your as part of your deployments. Yes, all of those is done in here. So, and then when your artifact now is being developed or built out of this is now taken and then released, and all of this is would be should be automated. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yes. So I think Angela said the testing or staging at times, yes, that's where, well, that's what maybe sales now use in demoing to probably potential, customers of your application. Yeah. I hope this picture is clear, even though it's, again, this is my best efforts to, I know I can do better than this, but yeah. I hope this is clear, guys. Or are there any questions around this, or I want to know?
It's clear.
All right, cool. Thank you. I was waiting for feedback, or else I would have moved.
Yeah.
All right, so since you guys said this is clear, so I will be, introducing us to the. Let me share my screen now. To Amazon Amplify. Again, I will preach this tool any day, anytime. I wish I could meet the engineers behind the tool and just hug them. Is again a platform as a service, and you use it is to deploy front end web applications. Well, that's the use case that I found very, very useful, in using this particular service. It's so for every service, there are pros and cons to using it. So the ability to actually know when to use all of these services. Yeah. So that's where your solutions architecting, skill parts would come into play. So you have let me use Henry's word, the problem statements now that have been given, and then okay, yes, our application that we want to deploy has been kind of separated into front end, and you have the back end, APIs also. And instead of having to deploy everything, there are different services, and then using the right service to deploy both your front end application, depending on Amplify actually supports quite a number of front-end frameworks. Would see, yeah, but they have gone ahead, and then you can actually use it to deploy a full stack application. But because of the fact that you don't, so I believe backend applications now kind of need serious monitoring. Yeah, there are monitoring tools baked into this Amplify, but some granular kind of monitoring now. So I tested an observability tool now, and what's the name of that tool now? Well, trying to pull logs from Amplify, I found very, very difficult. In fact, I worked with the engineers of that particular, what's their name now? Tool, and we struggled a lot in try to install so many custom third-party tools to be able to pull logs from, because I, have quite a number of front-end applications running in Amplify. So but it was hard to it wasn't variable. So you just want to leave it for front end application. So but it is again another benefits. I think I always I guess puzzled by is the fact that it comes very, very affordable. I don't want to use cheap. It's very, very affordable. So you can have multiple applications running on it, and then you bill at the end of the month. You see that it's very, very and it runs on. You can choose. It runs on EC2. Every platform as a service runs on some form of infrastructure. So I think I've done enough preaching about this. So we would go ahead and use it to deploy an application, and with I think just 3 clicks, you can have your application will be deployed. So your application would need to be sitting in some form of version control, just like I painted now. So if I click on create new app, yeah, so we have different version control system now, remote repositories, that we can pick from. I mentioned all of this: Code Cloud, Bitbucket. I don't know why Code Commit is still here. Even, yeah, they should have discontinued it. I think, yeah, September. So this, I'm sure if we come back here tomorrow or next tomorrow, this will probably not be here. And even if we wait before the end of this session, it might be taken away. So we have GitLab also, and you can also deploy without Git. It means you have so it's a developer-centric kind of service. All you need to worry about is writing your source code. So as a developer, if you are a developer, this service would work very, very beautifully. If you need to test out new features, or if you have an idea you quickly want to see how it would look like after you've written your code, this will actually work. So you, again, like I said, it strives for front end kind of code base. Yeah, so say your React, your Angular, your Vue, and then your next application. So if you have your architecture now front end that uses any of these frameworks, Amplify is the tool that you want to use. Yeah, like I said, we'll be pulling from GitHub. And for those that again are not used GitHub before, I'll be introducing us to it, very, very briefly. So, but you can go ahead and create an account, with GitHub. Is just go to github.com. But again, we'll be walking through this very, very soon. And then, yeah, so you can go to github.com, yeah, and then create an account. Very, very straightforward. It's like creating, any email service or any subscription-based tool now. So very, very straight. It points to your email address and then what have you. So I'll have, again, you must have some source code that some developers have worked it, or even yourself have worked on, and then point that to, and if it's local, the source code is sitting on your local machine, that's fine also. Yeah, so Upfold, I see your hands up.
Yeah, sorry. I want to find out if I have my application downloaded on maybe a zip application on my desktop. Where will I go to? I go to
That's why I said you can deploy without
with
Git to manually, so you
without
have
Git.
that
That one.
option
Okay.
to deploy, from your local machine. Yeah.
Okay.
Just take it from your local machine and then it will deploy for you. Yeah.
Okay.
So I will be, using Git because I have my, code base in Git, and this would, once you go next, it would kind of authenticate with your GitHub. It usually ask you to add permission, but because I've actually done this before, yeah, so it came up briefly, but so that yes, I have. So this option is there if you want to update your permission there. So this is basically to ask you to select which user you want to authorize, so you can have different accounts, to authenticate. So I have this already, so I won't bother doing that again. And then this would list all of the repositories that you have.
Sorry, I was trying to pause you.
Oh, okay.
I forgot he was live. I was trying to pause you to like stop talking. Let me follow. But
I just, okay, I've been paused. All right.
never mind. Please go ahead. Please. No, I was actually trying to follow. I do have a GitHub account, and I was trying to connect my GitHub account, but I forgot the password, so I was trying to get the password. And while I was trying to do that, you were just going. I was like, oh, but go ahead.
All right. Yeah, so it would prompt you to authenticate, with your password. I hope you have multi-factor authentication on your GitHub. Very, very important. And so even if you have your password stored, on your local machine, you always want to have that, especially when you start working with organizations. Once your GitHub is connected to multiple organizations, you want to have that extra layer of security so that organizations are very, very, private about their source code. Yeah. So you don't just want anybody to have access to their source code. So I have quite a number of repositories here. So we'll talk about repositories soon. It's just, a house, a storage for your source code, all of those things. If we open up any of this, thing that I have, that's here when I was developing. I actually created a Netflix clone. Yeah, so we have all of the different files, PHP. Used to be interesting, but now I can't code for anything. Yeah, so I have an application, an Amplify kind of bootstrapped application. So I can't share this. It's a public repository, so you can always fork it, clone it into your own.
Please share it. Please share it.
Okay.
So I can have something in my repository, or we can have something in our repository.
Yeah, so I'll paste this in the chat. In fact, I'll just let's take us to where I got it from directly. Yeah, so say public repository. And so if you open up that link, for those that have their GitHub account already, all you need to do is click on fork. So it will ask you if you click on fork, it's basically saying I want to clone this repository now. It would come on this. It will ask you to save it in your inside of your repository. I don't know why this is not loading. Maybe because it knows I have. Okay, yes. So obviously it would ask for which owner. I have quite a number of organizations that I'm tied with. I see I have it already in my personal. So you can be linked with multiple organizations. Yeah. So you put that, you probably have just your username here, and then you can, create.
So the copy the main branch only is gonna copy
just
what?
So because you can have multiple, I think it's just the main branch that is here, but if there are multiple branches, you can uncheck this. No, the main branch is just fine for our use case.
For what? Okay, sounds good. I was making sure.
So again, there's a session devoted to GitHub. So you guys, that's probably kind of, it looks like I'm speaking magic now. You'd understand this but setting up your account is very, very straightforward. And if you need, again, with the link I just shared, you can have a repository created for you. And once you click on the fork, and then you create a fork of that repository, and then I'm going to add that particular repository, and then there's only one branch, I think. So I have multiple branches in here. So I'm going to choose
sorry, Moyo, there's a lot of branches from what I did.
Okay.
So I have the repo, but I have a bunch of.
So you unchecked you unchecked the copy main branch only, yeah?
Yes. Let me share my screen real quick if you don't
So
mind.
obviously you would have multiple branches.
No,
so it's a public.
I didn't uncheck it. I didn't uncheck it. No, I didn't uncheck it. But that's fine. But if you say we're taking just the main, I think I have other things. I have other things in my repo, so that's why.
And so there's just one branch here.
Okay.
It's just a template.
Okay.
It's just one branch. Maybe it's another repository you are
okay,
looking at.
Main branch. Okay.
So there's just one branch in this. Yeah. So let me click on branch. Oh, okay. Okay, we have two branches. Just
there are two branches. Upgrade.
Yeah. So let's clone that. Where was I? All right. So after you have authenticated with your Git or whatever provider and also source code provider you decided to choose. You select the repository and then the branch you want to use there. Obviously, we have one branch for this. But I'll talk about how you can use branches now to create multiple environments. We talked about having the dev environments with the production and staging. So this makes it very, very easy. Yeah. So I can click on next, and then this would automatically detect what framework. And so this is the beauty of it. If maybe so you guys will appreciate this when you start writing workflows now. Yeah, you have to when you want to generate workflows, you would work with developers again, like I said, so the commands now that you need to use in building. We talked about building. Build would take all of your source code and then bundle it together. So you developers will be the ones to determine what third party or what framework but tool now they are using, whether npm, yarn. We have quite a number of those tools. So if I click on edit YAML file, we'll see all of these things that you would write. This is called a workflow now. It's a YAML file, it's a configuration file now. That's kinds of, there are stages now. We have phases, stages now that we talked about. So our backend has, this application has a backend module to it. So build steps for that backend application now is using npm to both cache and then to deploy, run all of these things. And then the front end is building, and then the artifact that would be generated from all of these steps now is and the fact that this is auto generated, you didn't have to write all of this, is a win. Trust me. For you to actually do this and get it once is a DevOps engineer's nightmare. Yeah. Writing a workflow that will work once. If it happens, you're just the night would be very, very young. You spend the night just grooving. Yeah. So Amplify auto detects your framework and then helps you come up with a sample configuration. So again, this would be dependent on the developer's work. Yeah. So you probably would maybe need to edit this. You probably, if the command in the package.json now is not, the script now that was written to bundle all of these things is not all build. Some developers can be very funny and they try to be as unique as possible. So you can always, edit this to suit whatever it is that you're deploying, whatever framework you're deploying. Yeah, so this will vary from time to time, but for this application, the default what was auto detected is a sample application, so it works just fine. And then yeah, service role again, because different infrastructure services also would be kind of used. A role is very, very important so that Amplify can have the right permission to create those resources on your behalf. So you create and use a new service role. If you have an existing service role, and then there are advanced settings. So again, the underlying infrastructure, that's your application. Again, your application is not being deployed to thin air. There are, there's a need for an operating system, and then all of those application software that is required. So you can choose. You have different variants of images. So this is being deployed to a container, and a container is built from an image. You understand all of this terminology sooner or later, yeah. But it's basically the infrastructure that will be housing, all of those, that bundled, artifact now. It should be pulled or deployed to whether your EC2 instance now or a container. So an image is chosen that your container will be built from. We have different flavors of Amazon, depending again on the versions of dependencies that your application is using. I think I mentioned yesterday that your developers can be very, very funny. Yeah. So there are newer versions of, frameworks change from time to time. Yes, very, very ever changing, an ever changing, landscape. Yeah. So, and after they've written all of their thousands of lines of code, when I opened this code base, yeah, you can see the amount of files, that's in there. So if we come into, I think it's public now or app. Yeah. So, not public. We go back one step. So after they've written all of this now, and then you are saying for each of these files now that contains hundreds of lines of code, I have to go in there and start changing, yeah, different helpers that I've used can become so you want to find out dependencies that you're using, what versions are they? Because if I use the latest image now, and then while this is trying to build the version of dependency now, is not part of this newer version of image to break our build. So, and again, this again will fail time and again, especially when you are deploying or trying to deploy for the first time. Yeah, so my default latest version of Amazon would work. Actually deployed, there's an application that was deployed. I had to get a custom build image because the version of that thing stressed my life. Before I could discover that it was a custom image that I needed to pull in the right version of dependency, one of the dependencies that was being used, an application that's been running for over a year, and then a new dependency was introduced, and then that broke the whole application. Yeah, so you'd get different varieties of use case for the different images that you have. And then most applications have some form of environment variables. Environment variables, I think we talked about it yesterday, sitting in, the one we deployed yesterday was in our .env file. For front-end applications, you usually would not need to add your database connection, but those are the kind of environment variables that I'm talking about, your key value pair. Now, developers again for front end, especially when they're consuming from the back end, you usually have maybe your app host, app URL, and all of those things, and then you put the value. I'll be pointing to the backend API, and if the application is using some maybe Google Map now, then you need to add the Google Map API. If it's using some form of capture, all of those things now, that would have been embedded into your application, and then you don't want to. There's some things that should not be hard coded because it can change over time, some authentication things and what have you. So you can have that if your application actually requires some form of environment variable. But our use case here now, there we don't need environment variables for this. And yeah, the rest of this, keep cookies in cache, can enable cookies for session management and what have you. So that's about it. This is like, I think, the second click. And then if I go next, this would show you all of the options, a review. I said three clicks, and then the application is deployed. So in 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, 2 minutes, your application can be deployed.
Sorry, Moyo, please, quick question. While the deployment was going on, I lost power for a few minutes.
Oh.
So I couldn't follow anymore. So, but I'm actually where you were explaining the advanced settings.
Okay.
Under the add repository branch section.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we left it at default. Okay.
Yes, everything default. I was just explaining the different options that we have in here. So
okay.
Yeah, but everything default would work fine for this particular application, that is. Then this is the default. So you can see everything that is happening is creating your application, creating your branch, is pulling in all of your code now from your repository, and then it's pulling it in here, and then it's deploying that application for you. And if you click into this, you see all of the logs now. You have the deployment history. See, it will start pulling in logs, all of the steps, that has been done. So it's including your the repository, starting the backend file. I don't know if you guys noticed, this was part of your the workflow. So it would run a few things and, to pull in all of these logs, and it would, create the infrastructure on your behalf that it will be deploying this to. Yeah, so all of this now is being done. So while this is running, I'm just going to come back here and then show us a few settings now. So you can always come to edit all of the options that you chose originally. We have branch settings, so I can add another branch. Like I said, use the branch to basically control the different environments. So say main is our production environment, and I want to create a branch for the developers to be able to get visibility. So I can click on add branch. I know I have created a oh boy. This is
Question, please.
yeah.
So when you finally save and try to submit or deploy the application, do you have to stay on that page? Because
I've left the page now.
Yeah, because
this failed.
Okay.
So there are so many logs going in, failed error, build assets, CloudFormation deployed has failed. Please read. Find more information in CloudFormation AWS console. So because it's deploying most of these platform as a service, they work with CloudFormation. So this is not intended to be locally. Current account region, Amplify, stop build. So I'm going to quickly open up CloudFormation. This is unexpected. I noticed when I was trying to create a branch, something failed. So I'm suspecting that, so I'm going to come to CloudFormation. I've never had to actually do this. That's strange. There are no stacks in here. This is not, there's nothing in CloudFormation that I need here. So I'm just going to try to redeploy this version. I'm suspecting. So I can click on. Henry, did yours fail when you tried running it? Like I said,
no, it's still in progress.
It's still in progress. So I don't know why this failed. I'm suspecting this was an error from AWS. So I know it's not because I left that screen. Is so it's not dependent. It's running, in the cloud. So it's not.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. But when I navigated away from that screen, I lost everything. So I had to redeploy. I had to do it all over again.
You lost everything. How?
So I couldn't go back to. So I went to all apps, and it didn't show that I was deploying anything. So if you click on all apps right there.
This is it now.
Yes. So yeah, exactly. It didn't show anything here. It just showed that it was empty. That I should create a new app. Create a new app. Yeah, so I had to go through the process again. That was what I was asking, if you navigate away from that screen, if anything is gonna happen.
Should work fine. Should work fine. So I'm not sure why that failed, but I'm interested to know why. Hopefully, I hope it's not because I failed again. Organic. So find troubleshooting useful. For this stack, fail to push assets. Intended to the. If you come through this, usually you would.
How long does it typically take to deploy?
6 to 7 minutes, again, depending on how large the code base is.
Okay.
6 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, but being that you've done this before, like based on the last
6
time you did it, how long?
minutes,
Okay, six. Okay.
6 minutes.
Yeah. Moyo, just for clarity, this code now we are deploying, right? Is going to be developed by
Yes, the
a separate
developers are the
team.
ones that would
Okay.
push everything to, do all of that.
To the gate. Okay.
Yes, to Git. So all you need to do is point Amplify to that particular repository, and then for the most part, it is the so that you have a build settings in here. This is where you come in. You write the workflow that would make sure all of the code has been built, is bundled, and then it's built basically. I need to find why this is failing.
Okay. While we're looking for why this is failing. So in the instance that you are in an organization now and the developers have done their work and deployed it to the gate, and you are trying to point it to the AWS or your cloud service provider, and in the process you have this failed instance, who will be responsible? Is it you or?
Yeah. So if it's a code related issue, so so that's why you have this log now. From this, I can tell that this is not code related. This is an infrastructural kind of error. So once you come through this and you see, okay, this is code related, all you need to do is take a screenshot and send to whatever developer that is working on it, and then they're going to fix that and then push again, and then this would retrigger that build, basically.
So you just mentioned two things, that it could be code related and it could be infrastructure.
Yes.
From this now,
so from what I'm seeing now, it's saying the resolution is find information in cloud formation for current region. I'm trying to understand failure to build and
find more information, the cloud formation.
Okay, so read more information. Sorry, Henry, what region are you deploying to?
Ohio.
Okay, is it done?
No, it's still deploying.
But
possibly Henryson would be successful, because I think it has taken
yes, it has taken longer. So that would be. I'm thinking is supported for example failure, unsupported feature. So this is again, the solution would probably be inside of the logs. So I'm seeing this as an infrastructural error. That's why I said, the solution can be in two ways. But if you look at it and then you're seeing, say maybe when it was trying
to... It's saying something about failed to establish assets. So if you look at that, if you scroll down and see where the red X is, where it says cost, failed to establish assets in that region, in the current account region.
So failed. So that's why I asked what region. So some services are if it's not available in that region, I won't have access to a particular service. So, but let me.
Yeah, but that should be something that when you click on the service itself, it's going to tell you that it's not available in that region.
Not available in the region. So
yeah. So
I'm deployed now successfully.
It's
you
done
deployed successfully, Henry.
Yes.
Hey, Henry, you need to come and take over this class, please.
Still in Ohio.
Yes, Ohio, yes.
So why is mine not working? Because what did I do?
Are you sure it's not the Ohio, Nigeria you are deploying to? Moyo.
Ojelegba, right? Ojelegba.
Oh my God.
There's Ohio in Ojelegba, is that one?
Yeah, so I am suspecting, that I have an outdated. So let me just go back to my gate. This will work, whether I like it or not. I'm going to, because it's a My network is even not even like it's doing like catfish now.
Well, Henry, you mentioned earlier that you had one error.
No, it was
No, what I
talking about my error.
What I said was I was following, and then power went out for like a few minutes, and then when it came back, the time it took for my power to come back and then the Wi-Fi to get connected, I lost some momentum. So I was trying to make sure I got it back.
So I'm just going to I'm going to try to sync this next template.
I mean, as you and I both know, it's something that might be a momentary thing. Maybe if you delete and redeploy, it's gonna just go this time.
Very, very possible. Very possible. So again, very easy to delete. I can come here and delete my app. This should have been very, very straightforward. Amplify Y. This branch is 1 commit ahead of mine and 9 commits behind. So let me sync this. And I'm going to discard. All right, so I'm up to date. It's a month ago. It's up to date now. All right, so let me go and deploy this again. Pretty. Oops. Guys, give me a minute, please. Just like Henry, my lights just went off. Just 1 minute, please, guys.
We lost Moyo. I think
We'll come back again. Let's wait.
Yeah.
I think this one is pretty easy. We just go to Amplify, then you click and go to your GridHub and move it in here. Start there.
Yeah.
It looks straightforward until you have this error where you're inside.
That's so true.
When you have this error, that's when you know it's not straightforward.
That was too lengthy.
That's what I said.
WordPress and the other last one. Man.
See, the WordPress I was doing it last night. I had to just delete everything because if you don't finish it at the stretch, you will pay plenty money before you come back to it.
What you can do is that you can put off the RODS, then delete your NAT gateway. That costly and release your IP address. Then when you come, you can put them back again on your.
My brother, I deleted RDS, EFS, everything. I threw it away. That's already they speak. Already speak now English. I delete everything.
Sorry about that, guys. I lost everything just went up. But I will be having some issues with my. Just give me a minute. My ISP I'm using now, I'm sure would fail. I need to turn on my. I may be disconnected for a minute, so please bear with me. I rescribe now.
Jimmy couldn't get into that as well too.
All right, let's try this. I'm going to refresh this and then I'm going to pick this, select my main branch. I'm going to go. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'm just going to click on next, save and deploy. I was hearing somebody say this is very, hey, God, I beg you.
Your value, you say your token is expired. I'm not sure what token what it's talking about.
Because I lost internet, I was
okay.
doing, connection, so that was actually, and so it needs to re-authenticate with
so with GitHub. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so that was actually expected.
Okay. Oh yes, it's happening again.
So this is expired. Oh wow. It's 10. Behave yourself.
There's something seems to be wrong there.
Let me just
with that authentication that need to be addressed first.
I always say it all the time when you watch all these training videos and everything is just working.
No, you know how many iterations
you don't know how many iterations they've gone through. And then you think that's how it's good. The day you go do something that maybe with a client or something,
and then you're sharing
and the thing fail, you'll be sweating.
Oh my God.
Not this money don't know as we define them.
I'm telling you, this was supposed to be very straightforward, isn't it? Well,
yes, it's compared to the other demos that we've done, this is like the easiest.
Really? No, this is showing me shit.
Yes,
I'm sweating as I am right now.
Well, because you are seeing error. For me, I'm not sweating. I got it right. So
you ran at your first try, so you will not sweat.
Yeah, I'm not sweating at all.
Let me share one story. In an organization, an organization I worked with previously, we recently just set up the cybersecurity department, and they just employed one guy. I don't know if this guy is so experienced and the rest, but possibly just watched one video and said, "Oh, we need to disable this from the AD. It's not security purpose. Blah 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 blah." The head IT say implements, operations implemented, and boom, that was the end of AD.
Wow.
No network. You could not see internet. Not see.
The guy deleted the Active Directory.
He deleted your Active Directory.
Jesus.
I forgot what exactly he recommended they should disable. I'm trying to remember the name. That was how they disabled it, and that was the end. We'll come and restore it again.
Wait, but who is the guy, and why did they trust him that much? Let me ask that question.
To hand over the full organization.
Is the cybersecurity? So the thing there is that I think later found out that okay, the guy works with a SOC before, one of all these cybersecurity vendors and the rest. So he has not worked in a production environment. He's just like, I will come and deploy and go deploy. So there's much difference between when you are in a more production environment or when you are just supporting from a partner organization.
Correct.
So I don't know. This guy just came in just because he was one of the partner delivering. So when they were looking for a cybersecurity, when they are trying to set up, they now invited him to come and they gave him the offer and he joined the organization. And then the guy, I don't know when a YouTube video go watch come.
the one that happened to me was I went for an interview somewhere with a bank, right? And they didn't offer me the job, but they also did not reject me. And that time I was already planning my jackpot. But my jackpot was dependent on whether I got that job or not. But fortunately for me, the guy who was supposed to, my hiring manager, he didn't get back to me. So I just at the time I just called my mom, called my dad, told my girlfriend, say, see, I'm here to go. So I made plans. I left. When I left,
your boyfriend?
Because no. I included her because she was the reason why I had not gone up until that moment. Do you understand? So I was stalling.
What is wrong with my network?
I gave all my this thing, but she had her own reason. So I was listening to her.
You have to, Thomas.
Yeah, so eventually I left. A month after, this guy called me. He sent me an email, said I should please call him immediately. When I saw that email, when I woke up in the morning, I said, this doesn't feel right. Call you immediately. Hiring manager telling me to call him immediately. What has gone wrong? That was why I called this guy. This guy was like, he started talking like it was my fault or something. It was like kind of like trying to guilt trip me on the phone. I've been looking for you. I've been calling your phone. You've not been connecting. I said, guy, me, I don't jackpot.
AWS, I'm big now. Okay.
Database.
I'm missing all of these.
I said in my head, now I catch this man. You know, the man was begging me. He said I should please come. I don't know what. At some point, I was asking myself, like, this guy was so desperate that I should call. He said I should resume on Monday. I said, this guy resume on Monday. Maybe he was looking for. He wanted to put it on me. He wanted to put the blame on me and say, okay, because what will happen? Maybe not even rectify it. Maybe what will happen is they will find out that he didn't go through the due process to hire the person he hired. And then, so because maybe so he wanted to put me there and do as if maybe it was the person that they hired, because I went through a bunch of interviews. So he wanted to be that. He wanted it to look like, okay, we all interviewed this guy. This guy messed up, and then maybe they will now fire me after a month or something. I don't know what his plan was, but it didn't feel good. It did not feel good. That move did not feel good. But the guy's in-law went and deleted the database. Production. The guy was sweating. He was begging me. He was literally begging me on the phone. Please, I'm begging you, my brother. He was calling me his brother. Okay, I'm not your brother.
But I don't think definitely they will have blocks to that. They will have blocks to that. So the day the incident happened and the day you resume, definitely we differ. So for him want to use you as a
scapegoat,
as a stick for that, I don't think he's going to work. He's not going to succeed. Possibly they're just looking for a recommendation, and possibly they don't have a reliable hand.
Yeah.
But
so the guy actually got promoted eventually. I mean, this is unrelated, but after a while, I saw that he was promoted to head the bank at in Rwanda. That's the branch of the bank in Rwanda.
But the hiring manager.
Yeah, not the HR, but the guy was supposed to be who I was supposed to be reporting to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
from my own little experience, so I don't think it boils all down to technical know-how. One, let me use the word God factor. Let me put that one there. Then also,
who you know,
how much you play the game and who you know.
Yeah.
So those are the things. Because you be a leader and you definitely you have an idea. You know what's going on. You are participatory, but you may not be the best technically.
Correct.
Technically, so one thing I've seen about leadership is not about, because that is why sometimes when you propose some things to the leaders of your department, you see them making some kind of arguing blindly, and you will be shocked. Like
how did you get this job? Yeah.
Like you'll be shocked, man. How do you become the head there? Like, what exactly are you doing in this position? And you'll be wondering. So, I think that has actually informed, possibly be part of what informed my decision that I don't think leadership is all about being head of a department. Does not mean that you are the best skilled person.
Yeah,
it may be some silent things, some other factors that's actually pushed through there.
Actually, so I can tell you that I can confirm 100% of the time that most organizations, when they go promote somebody who is very technically competent to a leadership position, they lost two things. They lost a technical competent employee, and they also lost a leader. Because most people, for instance, if you promote somebody to become software development, maybe manager, right? in a department because he's good, because he's a good developer. You go make him manager. Sometimes you end up, that person is no longer developing, he's no longer writing code, so he's not doing what he loves anymore. And then he doesn't manage people. You start making him manage people, so you lost a leader and you lost a software developer. So what I've seen with a lot of organizations is they try to see how technical, how leadership, how much leadership experience you have, and if you don't, if you don't, and they like you, they start mentoring you, so to speak. So that's so yes, that's what I've seen too. The guys that make it to the leadership positions are not necessarily very technical people. Actually, the less technical they are, the better self. Because
I totally agree. I totally agree. And nepotism is also one thing that's
I'm just enjoying your gist. While me, I'm suffering here, trying to make Amplify
no,
work.
it look like
we are encouraging.
It's working now. The first time it wasn't
It
bootstrapping your
didn't
account.
go through all of this. Yes. So all I did was just to change.
No, it did not. It did not.
All I did was to change
the zone, the region.
It's surprised. Okay. I deployed just before this session started. I actually deployed to Ohio, so I'm surprised. Oh my god.
I mean, I just deployed to Ohio too, and it worked.
This thing we just want to make somebody look like an abnormal person. If it works here, I do not have any explanation for this. Truly.
Yeah.
That is IT for you. And
we get it.
That's IT for you. Sometimes you just be doing that thing you do regularly. One day you wake up and tell you it's not working.
That's still strange.
And that is, we usually say this one of the rules. If it's working, don't touch it. If it's working, don't touch it.
I'm a very big supporter of that statement. Yeah. If it works, just leave it, man.
You are what?
I'm a supporter of that statement.
Just leave it to.
Even though there are times that you probably would want to kind of optimize, but it comes with its own, headache and what have you. You optimize at your own risk.
Yeah.
Try to make things better, and then find out that
even if you want to optimize, that is why you.
Eventually, you find out that you now go back to where you status quo. Like, okay, I just stayed here.
You know work.
You can roll back. You can roll back now. Roll back.
You never see a roll back no work.
I think this has passed.
Sometimes naivety. The people that you see that are like taking risk and showing they know this thing very much are guys that have really never seen problems before. So they are very naive and they just go ahead and go for whatever it is that they think is possible. But for people like me that have seen problem,
like
Moyo, you were saying that day, like when you were
different forms.
When you were saying that in that day, in my mind, I was just, in fact, I watched that video twice, and the second time I was just thinking to myself, like, I can imagine when you said the product manager was trying to get you to do something and you did the thing, and then the guy just kept quiet, or the girl kept quiet, like she wasn't the one. And you wrote incident report, you tired that period. In my mind, my colleague, I was working on a project it was a project at Dangote that time. My colleague was locked in the server room. The manager told him, "You will not leave here today until you fix this problem." You don't see Wahala before. You think the guy wants to lose his job? The guy said you must fix this problem today because the guy said you will not leave this server room today. Inside code now. So the guy I will bring blankets for you. You go cover your body for blanket. But that network when you scatter, you go fix them. The guy said he almost go and report to police. Now my boss for office beggar.
We've seen where a company that is into billing, that what brings more to them is billing application.
For anything that has to do with finance,
billing application for one reason stop working. After 48 hours, and board is firing, and the engineer came down and said, if this thing is not fixed in the next 1 hour, else we roll. That is the only statement MD made and left. After 48 hours, so
Solution
Yeah.
must come.
sir,
Did it work? Did it work?
I'm telling
Solution
you,
must come.
what solution we have done it 100 times within that 48 hours, it did not work.
Now Jesus
But
Christ.
when
It's
MD
Jesus.
came,
It's Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
the
Somebody
moment the
prayed.
MD came out, I made that statement and go. I never knew
You know
our
what?
head IT can pray.
When plenty things are at risk, you think you
Like-
throw in the box. Solution.
My head IT sat on the floor, was praying, say, God, please. God, please. I'm
If
telling
you
you, for
don't believe
48
in the
hours, we
metaphysical,
were
you
all
must
together.
believe by
Nobody
force.
went to their house. That same thing we just said, it is even the junior among us that does not even really know. You just let him even try it again. Like
Yeah.
after almost everything, he just tried it and it worked.
Before. Now go hug on.
What's
This one tire. Say thank you for trying it again.
Oga, what did you do? Is that thing I've seen you for doing I did now?
I think anything special.
Honestly, this job is not funny.
Yes, it will make you
funny,
think you're abnormal at times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this
I remember back then it
fun.
was just a simple walk, just leave what you're doing, walk away, just take a walk, come back.
I swear
what you were
it
doing
works.
before
It
that
works.
wasn't
It
working. Now
works.
it's
It works
working.
magic. It works magic. It
Yeah.
gives you fresh perspective anytime you take a look at that problem. Something you've been doing over and you just see that, oh, okay. Yeah, something that you've been at for hours and then can be crazy.
Just walk away, come back, and then it's working.
So while this is, so I see that it's building our pages already. So build successful.
It looks like it's a to-do app, right?
Yes, it is a to-do app. Yes, very, very basic app. So again, the beauty of this is you can also customize your domain because the domain DNS that Amplify actually gives you, is very generic. So you can always do all of the customization of your domain in here. You can add a domain. This will authenticate with your Route 53, and then you can configure the domain and then choose whatever it is that you want to choose in here, and then you get a free SSL certificate. Managed services are just the best. So I have www.open. I want to, for my main branch. This is where if you need to add for, say, your develop branch. Right now, I don't have my develop branch set up. Okay, yes, I wanted to demonstrate this earlier. So let me quickly set up this. Let me add this domain. And also set up, so it will create an SSL certificate for you and what have you. So I can come to branch settings now and add a branch. This will try to authenticate again. And so I check I have developed branch now. It has detected that I have an application running on the main branch, so it didn't bother bringing that again. So I have a developed branch also, so I can add that branch. And automatically, if I come back to my application, I should see my develop branch. So inside of the same application, you can have multiple environments. So this is done deploying. If I click on this, should have the to-do app. So I can click on this, learning DevOps. And so this actually has, I think, a database attached to it somewhere. I think it's connected to. So Amplify gives you the option to have a database attached to it. So SSL is asking that once you have this added to your domain provider, activation will resume. So I can come to my Route 53. That should have actually been done automatically. Usually gets done automatically. Since this domain is hosted on AWS, I don't know why that is not happening now.
Is AWS is a domain provider? Or it was
Yes,
just
they have
hosted there?
the Route 53 is a you can register domain and what have you in there. So basically they have a domain, a DNS providing service. That's what Route 53 is. So it's like it's an ecosystem. They want you to do everything in here. I'm going to create a record, C record, I think, for www. To add this. Already exists. Really? So he has added. Why is he asking me to come to add it? That's what we have now. CloudFront. So I come back here. Let me confirm that it's K. So this is. So I know it should add automatically. I'm just going to give it a minute, and we see our.
Create a hosted zone. Is that you created a hosted zone, or what did you create in that route?
No, so when I tried to add a custom domain to this, and so
yes.
AWS, while it was adding, it requested that I create an A record in this domain, which should have been automatic. It shouldn't even bother asking me for it, but because I came here, I saw it. So I tried to create that record, and then it said the record already exists, which because it's AWS to AWS, so it has done that automatically. So it's activating that domain already and then setting up all of those. One of the beauty of where is this?
Mr. Moyo, I'm so lost right now. I don't even know where you guys are again, but that one is built in my own area.
Where exactly are you? So we can try to.
I did not. No, don't worry. Don't worry. I did not attend yesterday's class. I'm just
So this
stumbling
does
now.
this what we're doing today has literally nothing to do with yesterday's session. Yeah, this is like building on a fresh foundation here. Okay. So we are basically deploying our application using this Amplify, which is a platform as a service offering. It's just going. All we need to do, all we're doing is connecting this application now to our source code, which is sitting in the GitHub repository. Are you familiar with GitHub?
No, I'm familiar with GitHub, but I've not really used it one-on-one.
Okay. So your developers would have written a bunch of code for the application now, and so all you'll be doing from Amplify is just creating an app and point it to that source code. And then Amplify do its magic. Hopefully you don't run into the error I ran into, and then that is inevitable anyways. Henry, because it worked straightforward for you, your time will come, don't worry, trust me. It will work for me straight, and then you would experience plenty of things.
So when you created the C record in
so I didn't have to create it. I wanted to. So when I tried creating it, already it detected, because this has been automatically created by Amplify, which should have been the original, but when I tried creating, it detected that this record already exists. So I didn't have to, create it again. This
but if you take a look, can you please go to the record that was created? Because I'm trying, mine doesn't exist. I'm trying to see what the value you post. Okay, so you just use the
value would so you copy that the value it gave to you, and then all you need to do is add www or you paste that value.
Okay, that makes sense.
So this is the beauty of this is if I come to so this is my repository now. I can come to let me see where that page is. Should be in app. I think it's page.csx. All right. So say we need to make a change. Developers there, they need to add some navigation bar, add some few things to our application now, and that editing is being done here. Let me choose something. Let me just add. Sorry, successfully posted it to do. I just do a few edits in here, and I commit my changes. I'm going to commit directly to the main branch. Usually it's the develop branch that you want to commit to, but I'm just going to commit to the main branch directly. If I come back to my application now, this would trigger, just that commit now would trigger a fresh deployment of this application, and in a few minutes we'll see that change will be affected. Yeah, so it has abstracted all of those. So that's basically what our workflow does. Yeah, abstracting all of those plenty things that should happen in between committing to the repository and then running all of the continuous. This is CI/CD at its basic form. It gets really, really complex. I think, I don't know who mentioned, I wasn't hearing properly, that this one is more straightforward. Yes, it is actually very, very straightforward. When you manually have to write your own workflow, it becomes, kind of not interesting because there's going to be plenty back and forth. So you can see the commit message and what have you. In I don't think it will take up to 6 minutes.
Sorry. When you effect some changes on that code now, does it version the app, the application? Does it version it all the same?
Yeah, automatically if I come back to like code now, well, you're taking us to branches. So if I come to commit now, I can see that commit I did 1 minute ago. I can see so that particular commit that I did, where is it? This is it, updates. And if I come into this, I can see exactly what I changed. This was changed from app successfully hosted to we are successfully hosted. So if you have developers, again, the developers that will be doing most of this. It's just one file that was changing here. So automatically you have this particular version. So if I want to revert this change now, I can always, there should be an option to actually revert it somewhere. I think it should be from the commit itself. Just a Git can also get very, very complicated, very annoying also, especially when you have merge conflicts and what have you. Things will get really, really messy, yeah. And then you have to can't find my revert button. So if you can't find the revert button, all I'll do is I'll pull into my local machine, and then I would just switch back to just do a rollback. It's more fun. Just like when we try to edit a username, and in IAM, and we couldn't do it from the console. So you have those little things also in Git also they will require to go and write commands to actually do it. Yeah, those are more advanced things anyway. So let me quickly come back to my hosting. My custom domain is taking forever. Okay. I think I know why. Well, I can't edit this until this is done deploying. Yeah, but I trust you guys already get the gist of this particular service. I want us to we have a few other things that we want to quickly close off on. Or are there any other questions regarding this? Again, this can go multiple ways. So we have our develop branch, and so you can also create a domain for so I can add a domain name, the domain now, and call this dev.moban.com and point it to the develop branch. But I'm sure this will tell me I can't. Okay, so you cannot update a domain association while certificate is updating. That's what's expected. So basically, you can have multiple domains, on the same app pointing to different environments. So that picture that I drew from the beginning, see all of those things now to the different environments. You can manage everything right. Okay, so this is done. So we have our application running. That's strange. Okay, so I was expecting to see my learning dev as well. Yeah, so it came up here eventually. But once this is done deploying, that's new change. I didn't think this would take up to 6 minutes again. So I've spent less time because so okay, yeah, it's done building. It's usually the build stage, the build part that actually takes long. Deploying doesn't take long because again, it's just taking the artifact now and then deploying took just 17 seconds. It has deployed it. So if I come back here and then refresh this, I should see that we are successfully hosted the application. So once you have this configured, you can go to REST. That okay, whatever it is that the developers are working on, once they push, well, as long as the right checks are well. So you usually put checks around your different branches so that's not just anybody can push into it. There are code reviews and then PRs, pull request now that needs to be merged after code has been reviewed and what have you. So that is done. So if I come to this, what I want to do, okay. If I come to my develop now, you would still see the older version. So that's strange. It should not have me as a creating. Okay, so I don't know the difference we see up here. So the code we have in the develop branch is actually different from what we have in the main branch. So this gives you that flexibility. You can have again multiple instances of the same app. Developers can have this as their test bed, all of the features, new features that needs to be added and all of those things, have them push to that develop branch. And then when everything is, when it has been tested, maybe you have a staging branch also, you have a staging branch, you pull from develop to staging. And once the QA guys have done all of their tests, and then you can now take all of that change and move it to your production environment. Yeah. All right. I hope this is fine. We can move on. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this application. You guys did not respond though.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you. So we'll be moving on to another very interesting service. Yeah, that's Elastic Beanstalk. Again, this is a platform as a service also, and this gives you, so with our Amplify now, the underlying infrastructure is abstracted from us. We don't see, we don't even have access to our containers that is being running. But with Beanstalk now, for all of the services, you use it to deploy applications also. But all of the service that is being deployed, yeah, you have access to them. It's both a platform as a service that gives you access to the underlying infrastructure, basically. So it allows
Sorry,
you.
question is before we proceed, please. Question.
Yeah.
So what we just deployed using AWS Amplify.
Mm-hmm.
What is the cost to it? Can we keep it, or we have to destroy it immediately?
So I told you I have a particular organization that I deployed. I have 10 different front-end applications in Amplify, and each of them has dev environment, has staging, has production. And in a month, the bill is around $5 $7. Yeah, I think between $5 and $7 for those 10 different applications with 3 environments each. So do the math. So it's a service that I don't know how AWS is making their money from, but I hope nobody from AWS actually gets to hear this recording and then they go and review their pricing. So I was thinking maybe it was that organization that has, maybe they have some form of credits. Yeah, but I did it for another organization, and the bill was so, even though they didn't have as much, but it was so very negligible. Yeah, so I went to the pricing calculator and was in a sense for it to the bill you per application, not now the number of environments that you have inside of it. So apparently the container service now, they don't charge you very much for it. And if you see the size of instance now that is running, it's 7 gig of RAM, very, very elastic in terms that, no matter the amount of requests coming in, the amplifier is able to handle it. It's now your backend now that would probably, you need to check and see that, is responding to those requests, fast enough. Yeah. Which is very, very cost efficient.
Okay. Okay, so a friend of mine actually works for AWS. I just sent him a text now.
Don't
tell
them that
they should look into your
account. Guy, let them leave Amplify for us, so they should not look at it at all. They should leave it because
now.
please, I cannot come and start looking for optimizing cost again that I've forgotten about. Please, yeah. Right, cool. So
did you join the back end thing now?
What'd you say?
So the back end of this Amplify, did you show to us?
I wanted to even show us monitoring and all of those things. Shoot. And I don't delete them. Oh crap. Okay, I have an application running there. So okay, that does not have the backend. It does not have the backend. You don't have access. So that's why I said usually I would advise that you use it to deploy for this particular application we deployed. It has a backend. I'll just say it's kind of as a monolith. Yeah, even though very, very basic backend. I wouldn't even call it a backend. It's just when you have your your front end and back end sitting inside of one repository. I wouldn't. I just call that a full stack or a monolithic kind of application. So because they are literally working, from the same source. Yeah. So, but if you go to Amplify, you won't. Again, it is a service that does not give you so much flexibility in terms of infrastructure, having access to the infrastructure. All you're doing is pointing your code base to it, and then you can go and rest. But you can, it offers you monitoring. Let's just go back there. But not on the granular level where you can actually pull logs. It sends logs to CloudWatch and what have you, though, but it's not. Should have an application running here that I cannot touch. Yeah, so I have this, but this is just a front end application anyways, just so I have monitoring. Network is very unstable. Crap. So you can get metrics, see all of those things, but it does not grant you that granularity, flexibility to do and undo. So I don't know why. CSS logs and all of those things that you can have. So you can integrate it with CloudWatch, again, just to pull near real time, code. But again, like I said, for backend, for APIs now, because you don't have that flexibility to customize a few things. Backend guys would not find this very, very useful. Yeah, for backend applications, you need a lot of customizing. And so there are tools that you can use to get that granularity that you actually need for your backend. Yeah, so again, I recommend for front-end applications mostly. All right, Beanstalk again is a service, used in deploying web applications. I'm going to run through this real quick because, well, your final projects again is left to you guys to decide to do. Is going to be hinged around this. Yeah. So again, we use this to deploy application. Basically, it has its good side and backside also. So I'm just going to walk through, I think, walk through using it to deploy a sample application, and then I'll tell you guys what you can actually do to it. So many organizations are actually using this again, especially for the API deployment, and that's because it gives you access to the service itself is free, but all of the other services that it creates for you, you will be paying for those. So we have two different. You can I want to deploy. Okay, yes, that two different environments. Web server environment is usually what you, depending on the architecture of the kind of application now that you're trying to deploy. So for this worker environment, so if it's used for more, I want to say, advanced application architectures where, say, you have multiple, a kind of application that needs to run in a queue, kind of, and then connect multiple other services, passing process flow from multiple applications. Again, kind of complex for most.
Moyo, please, can you break down this now? What you just can you break?
Don't let me break it down. It's going to add more complexity. Let's focus on the web server. So it's don't let me break it down. So I want to and I don't want to again because
just find a way so that
no, not that. If I explain it now, some other person now would say, okay, yes, can you take it a notch further? Okay, so say you have.
I'm going to mute everybody so they will not answer any further question on it.
So yeah, again, the architecture you have, applications have different architectures. For web applications now, the architecture is mostly kind of similar in terms of, say, you can make API calls, have HTTP request and response, web clients kind of architecture. But for this worker environment now, your application must be architected in a way that for web server now, process only goes from your client to your server and then back to the client. But when you have an application that send processes to other processes, so it goes from, say, from top of my head now, it goes from say your SQS now, your queuing service, to a Lambda function, and from Lambda function now to say another queuing service, or say Rabbit MQ kind of queue, another queuing service again, before it gets sent to say an API gateway now. So because of the number of processes, and when you have queuing services, you have multiple processes in a queue, and before they get executed in whatever destination that it's been sent to, And it has to queue there also before it gets sent to another queuing service. It makes that before that process gets executed completely before it gets to the final destination. It's a process. So you have multiple workers in that kind of architecture. So for that kind of application architecture, you want to choose a worker environment because what you're going to set up is going to be different. You have to set up multiple workers as part of that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So the difference is that for our web server, client server architecture, you make HTTP, TCP, requests now. Yeah. So, and that's most web applications now are very few applications. It is usually, I think, I'll say organization centric. Yeah. Well. Yeah, so our web server environment is mostly what we would be, and that's because most web apps have the same kind of architecture. And the Elastic Beanstalk is more of it gives a developer-centric view of deploying an application. Yeah, it handles all of that heavy lifting as with every platform as a service offering. Yeah, so I will be naming our application. I want to deploy an application, a very basic application. I'm going to call it mobile app because I don't have any other name that I want to do. And then this gives you the option to choose. You can have multiple environments, just like we talked about earlier. So I can have my, say, dev environment. I want to deploy for a dev environment, and I can have for development environment also. And then you can choose to customize this. Not customize because it's still appends in the Elastic Beanstalk with it, or we can go ahead and still create a domain to manage all of this. This is more, you can see the number of steps that we have to do. That's why I said this is like an advanced Amplify. Again, you have to configure a few things, unlike Amplify that takes away all of that heavy lifting for you. With Beanstalk, again, if you want to have that flexibility, you want to manage your infrastructure. You want like an hybrid kind of thing. You want to both have access to it and then really not worry about managing it, patching. So it will create your EC2 instance, but still maintain it for you. But you can still have access to it. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. Well, it gives you like that hybrid kind of thing. Yeah. So you have for each environment, all of the settings that will customize now, you can have it replicated across multiple environments, and so you can have that consistency across your different environments, and you can choose to, have, so for your dev, you can have like a miniaturized kind of environment. Maybe one is not developed, it's not you're not running in, say, a multi-availability zone. It's not, highly available, but for your staging and then your production, okay, maybe staging also, yeah, because it's just in-house, for testing and purpose and all of those. But for your production, you can now go granular with it. Yeah, so your environment, let's check availability, should be available. Yeah, it is available. So the platform now, Elastic Beanstalk gives you access to number of platforms, frameworks if you want to have it. If you want to build for .NET on Core on Linux and any of these different platforms. Again, the developers, and this will be dependent on the kind of application that you want to deploy. So Node.js, PHP, Python, those are quite popular ones now. So I'm just going to deploy a Node.js application, and even choosing your platform still means there are still different versions. And this again can be very, very problematic in terms of, so if the application was developed using node 18, and then you deploy for node 20, there's going to introduce so many breaking changes. So you will be working, I can't overemphasize this, hand in hand with developers a lot. And trust me, developers can be very, very interesting people. Yeah. Yeah. So you would need to be very, very patient. They will try to frustrate you, give you information that is very, very wrong. So you get all of that information, so you know the exact version of the platform now that you be choosing as part of your setup. So for this is very, very
Sorry,
fine.
Moyo. When you say developers try to frustrate you and give you information that are wrong, are there not work order for the project before where everything will be stated? Won't there be any of such
Yeah, so even when the please, yeah, don't worry. You see, so there are, even when you have tickets on the Jira board, developers would, in fact, this happened just yesterday on Friday. The front end guy, we're still talking about okay, yes, for our contact form, this screen now is not needed. With the project manager was still talking with the designer and say, okay, yes, can we change the outlook of this? And the front end guy was also there even before the design was updated. The guy had gone to, um, implement it on his own end, even without approval. And I don't know what he told the product manager. She came to me and told me, okay, yes, Samuel said he has worked on something else, whereas he worked on, another ticket and included his own extra fix. So apparently the other fix was very, very important, needed to go to production really, really fast. So I had to boycott, all of the approvals that needed to be checked. The engineering manager did not even bother. Say, okay, yes, Moyo, you can go ahead. Samuel said this fix has been approved by the PM. So we pushed only for us to check on staging. We ran a demo that Friday, and then we saw like things are looking very different. Oga was like, have we approved this change? And everybody was just silent, like, this is interesting. We only talked about this. Like, yeah, so when you're dealing with developers, it can, even if you have well documented, workflow and all of those things, they would maybe when they are trying to implement, they hit a roadblock, trying to meet up with, what has been, stated, and they won't even, mention it in their ticket when they move it to QA or whatever now, and then you get different things entirely when you are trying to run, or when you're trying to deploy, that solution. So that's why I said, yeah, but you can build, a kind of rapport relationship with them that, okay, yes, please, when you make this kind of updates, when you updating let me know in time so that, we don't introduce breaking changes. So your people's skill is also something very, very important as, a cloud practitioner. So the ability to make people to be in your own corner, understand them, yeah. So choosing the right platform, very, very important. Else your application would, suffer plenty damage. But for this, our application, I'm just going to use a sample application you can upload. So this is why I said, this again every service has its own, disadvantage. Yeah. We can version this, make this, we can, add a CI/CD to our Beanstalk, but that would need to use other AWS services, to make this possible. So the option that we have now is, to just like we did a zip file to S3, and then we pulled into our EC2, I think yesterday. That's the option that is available, out of the box for Elastic Beanstalk. Can be extended. Yeah. So is either you upload your code, pull it from your local directory, from a local file, a zip file, or pull from an S3 bucket. If you pull from your local, it will still create an S3 bucket for you, and then push that to S3 and then pull from there. Yeah, but I will be using a sample file, the sample Node.js application now. Yeah, so I have a source code, but let's just use a sample one. So this preset now just basically helps you kind of determine the configuration for what you want. So if you want a single instance, yeah, or you want a highly available, which we have been talking about mostly. So when you guys hear high availability, what comes to mind?
Auto scaling.
Auto scaling is
and multiple zone. That said, what that one zone?
Yes, availability zone, exactly. So when you hear highly available, multiple availability zones should come to mind. So for our use case now, or what we've been working on, we have been deploying for high availability. Yeah, so you have that option to choose that here, but I will be choosing a single instance because I don't want to give you guys all of the expo that you need for your upcoming task. Yeah, so I hear
you want to like our lecturers for Nigeria, sure?
Teach you 1+1. Teach you 1+1 and tell you to go and differentiate. Why X is
their joy to see somebody
and differentiation. How are they related, sir?
No, I mean, on a very basic level, their joy is to see you fail. It's like it gives them joy to see that their course is difficult. Oh, that course very difficult.
Oh, that's terrible. How can you teach somebody and then the person does not know anything and you're happy about it? It says a lot about you.
It's the most stupid and backward mindset I can never imagine in my life.
Even you have an interview as well too. Someone will interview that you fail.
I mean, it doesn't even make sense. You are a teacher and I failed your course and you are happy. That means that you fail. Now you fail.
Exactly. This is terrible. But let's leave Nigerian lecturers for now. I'm not going to take that route. So I've actually given you guys what you need. I'll give you all of the expo that you need there. Yeah. So,
thank you.
Our service access is basically, the role that Elastic Beanstalk would be creating multiple services for you. So, and they need to have the rights and permission to do this. So for service role, you probably want to create a new role. I have an existing role, so you want to choose create new role. If you want to create the role manually, you have this view permission details that will tell you all of the permissions that whatever role that you want to create needs to have. It needs to have all of this, permissions. But why do you want to do that when AWS can go ahead and create that for you? So anything that would take away, the heavy lifting from you, you always want to just create a new service and it's going to name it properly for you. So I have this role already. So there's AWS service, Beanstalk service role. So I have that already, but it's still the same thing if you choose this. Yeah. So for those that will be working on it, for my key pair, again, this is so that when you need to log into your instance, I know I'll be logging to this instance because I don't have this key pair again. So it will be creating an EC2 instance, obviously, for you. And instance profile, we talked about this yesterday. This would allow your EC2 instance now to pull, because it will be pulling, I mentioned earlier that your source code now will be pushed to an S3 bucket. So, but this will be working. If you click on the view permission here, we see the S3 gets and lists bucket access. This particular permission now makes that available. So you can create a permission, a role rather, that has, you search for this permission. I want to believe every one of us knows how to create roles. So you create a role and then the permission that you need to ask, you search for this permission. There are 3 of them. You search for this permission.
Sorry, are we going to I am service the one creating role?
Yes, exactly. So for this, it's not giving you the option to create a new role for this. Unlike this service role now, for your instance profile role, you have to go to IAM now. I don't want to, I have a role already, but you go to IAM. Let's do this. So you come to your IAM. Try. I'll be able to still touch on Lambda today. We must do. And yeah, so these are the permissions that you need to ask. Come on now, come this thing. Network wants to frustrate me. You're sticking your time, scrolling. So I'll click on roles. I create my role. We know our instance profile is an EC2 service role now. So when we want to create the role, the service we want to choose is EC2. Ah, crap. So it's going to be an AWS service, and then you're going to choose EC2, and then the permissions that you search for now are going to be these permissions that you have in here. So I'll search for this permission. Yeah,
This one's okay.
To see that I have the beanstalk selected, but I'm going to just take away these three so that I can see all of the different beanstalk, because I know I have three different services. I mean, permissions now, the beanstalk web tier, beanstalk.
So are you to give all the permissions, or you can give just one?
In that beanstalk,
once you add this permission, all of this access is granted, is bundled into that permission. So you need the three for this to work, effectively. They recommend that you manage all of these policies for you. So you make sure you.
Okay, so we must give all three permissions.
Yes, all three. Yeah, for this to actually work. Yeah. So it's web tier, multi-container Docker, I think. Multi-container Docker, and that third one is Worker tier. Worker tier. Yeah.
You selected that already.
No, the web tier, Worker tier, and then there are three of them there. So you name your role. I have this role already, so I'm not going to go ahead and you name it whatever you want to name it, and then you create the role. So I will come back here and select. Oops. Okay, yeah. So I have I need to confirm this though. EBS role.
You demonstrate the first one. No?
I didn't get that.
So the first one, you demonstrate that the service role, the first one.
It's the same thing. So like I said, for this, you have the option to create a new one for you. So you don't have to go through the step of having to go and create it, because you have the option to create it for you. Yeah. And then you can, it's much easier, except you want to, again, you like work, and then you want to go and create it. And then because I've created this already, it's just I use the create option to create. And
Moyo, so if we create a new user service role, we don't need to go to IAM and do all those again.
Yes, it will automatically create it for you.
Even the name for you.
Yeah, so it names it appropriately. Yeah, so anything that again that will automate creation of very simple tasks like this. Imagine I have to do all of these things. Yeah, I could have have done so many other things. Yeah. So I think let me check this role, up being role. So I have this all three here. So I'm just going to select that instead. So these are all of the permissions that this needs to have. Yeah. So I'm going to go next. I could have skipped to review, but I want to talk about a few things that you guys would need as Expo now. Okay, yes. Now you want to select the appropriate VPC that you want to create your infrastructure in. So we have our custom VPC already. And I think I mentioned yesterday that VPC is not something you create every time. Most of the time you have a custom VPC where you just be putting your different applications and different services. So I have a mobile VPC. Again, you have the option to create a custom VPC right from the console here, and then you can activate public access. So if for I don't know, maybe your setup server, whatever it is that you're doing, you can have public access. Because I'm creating just one instance, so I want to have a public access. Doesn't make really, because you have a DNS that would be given onto you.
That is not going to be so. So is that going to be an AIP?
No, it's a public. Wait, yes, it will be an AIP. Yes.
Ooh, cash.
It will be. So it's actually not necessary. Yes, yeah, because again, the beanstalk will provide you a DNS, so it's really not necessary. Truly, yeah. But I'm going to leave it. Depending, because I know I'm creating this inside of a public subnet, and then you can set up your database also. But you need to enable database in here. You have the option to enable database, and this would you can restore while this is trying to enable.
It's optional.
Yes, you have the option to choose a snapshot. So how this is going to work, and you have the option to either create a database.
You did not select the region for the database.
Yes, because I'm not going to use it for this application. I'm saying this option is here for when I want to tell you what you guys will be doing, afterwards. Yeah, the option is here for you to select your region where you want to put your database in, and then you can restore from a snapshot, or you can go ahead if you want to create a new one, create a new.
So did you select one instance subnet or multiple instance subnets?
So I'm creating just when I
just one.
Just one. That's why this is just demonstration. You guys will go and do the more advanced things.
It's like more what we just did last time. They just mention it here.
Yes, exactly. Mr. Hartford, yeah, flesh and blood did not reveal this to you.
What did you say again? I missed what Hartford said. What did you say, Hartford?
I said it's like you did in the previous.
Yes. So you'll be replicating all of that using Elastic Beanstalk, all that we did yesterday now. So that's why I told you to create a snapshot. So for those that are running away that think they would not do that project, they play. You will.
That yesterday class, they do me like movie.
I slept. Don't worry, it will make sense.
I woke up at night. I watched the video. It was like, I have to pause and want to start answering questions. I didn't know it was not a live class.
You wanted to pause me like Henry.
Just like I was trying to pause Boyo.
Yeah, but it'll all make sense, guys. If you just need that time. Yeah. So I'm going to put this out there. So next week Saturday, I'm going to block it out. You guys should for those, I know the week can get very, very busy. Yeah, so we won't be meeting next week Saturday. So you guys can have that's 3 hours. Yeah, use it to try to work on any of these projects. The ones that is necessary.
Let me suggest this. What if you just launch the class so that we can meet, and then we can use that for our instead of not showing up at all.
Okay, makes sense.
So so if anybody wants to join, they can still join, and then we can just brainstorm and talk.
Okay.
I'm willing to share my screen, and
and so you guys want to do it together. But that's going to be to your advantage. Whoever is going to work on it on their own would also. So that time again is so that individually you can work on on your own. I understand working together. Yeah. But if you work together, it's just one person now that will be working on it, except it's not possible that somebody's sharing their screen and then the other person is trying to replicate it. There's going to be some form of divided attention. Yeah, but so this is so that individually you can take that time, in class you working on your own. Yes. So maybe no, I don't know if we would have time for in IS you guys would get to work together, but for this I want individually work on it pick, especially the one from yesterday, this project 3, if you can do it from end to end, yeah, trust me, there's no kind of application that you want to deploy that would make you scared, because again, this is scary, trust me. Yeah, even for me, each time I do it, I always have my fingers crossed that please just work on the first go, because troubleshooting it would be, the headache. So if you can take that time out next week. But if don't let us open up the class. It's only one person that will benefit from it eventually. All right, so let's get back to our deployments now. We'll talk more about that in a few after event. So you have all of this. You want to deploy from the onset, you're going to choose high availability, to put that in multiple ability zones and to create multiple instances for you. We'll see more of, so it will be very, very straightforward, but it's just that you must have worked on this particular project 3 to be able to replicate it using Elastic Beanstalk. What Elastic Beanstalk now is doing for you, when you have to set up do your setup server, pull from S3, and create your launch template, your application load balance, and all of those things. All you need to do here is come and set up configuration. Now, for your database, you're just pointing to, a snapshot. And for the most part, well, except maybe it's a fresh application entirely. If you are migrating from one service to the other, usually you have a database of the existing application already, and then you're just trying to use another service to, maybe you're moving from on-prem and then to the cloud. You have a snapshot or a backup of your application of your database already. So let's move on. I should have tagged this, but nah. Next. So here we are not using containers, so this is not going to apply to us. And then you can set your monitoring interval, how you want CloudWatch to monitor all of the resources that will be created for you. Choose your your security groups now for your EC2. We have created our web server security groups. I'm just going to be choosing that. And then you choose your auto scaling group, the capacity that you want for a single instance. I don't need, if I choose load balance now, which you guys would do, you need to set up the number of instances that you want, and all of that, option that you can set up for auto scaling and then load balancing. For my single instance, all of that does not apply in a bit, but I still need to choose the instance type that I want. So I'm going to be choosing 83 micro, and then your AMI ID. If you have your custom email image, which you should, if you worked on this, all you need to do is add that AMI ID in here, and then you're good to go. So I think I've made Elastic Beanstalk, using Elastic Beanstalk to replicate this particular project very, very straightforward. And then more monitoring. Again, this would help you monitor your application, and you can send notification when maybe there is, some form of spike in your application infrastructure, what have you. For this application deployments, I'm going to skip this. This is, you need to say, you want to create new versions of your application, how you want that to be deployed. Yeah, so this would require that we talk about some other services. It's a one-time thing now. Configuration, I'm going to leave all of this. Okay. It's just, yes, all at once. It's fine. So you can choose your web server that you want, whether Nginx or Apache. And again, you have quite a number of options, stages now, and that's because you are. So this is a review of all of the things that you've chosen. Again, this is very, very basic, so I have nothing to fear. Role with name already exists. I chose, where did I configure access? I didn't say I should create a new one now. Yeah. Oh, I chose create new one. So, sorry, my bad. Use existing one. So I can skip to review. We've gone through all of the different steps already. I'm going to submit this. So it's going to go ahead and start provisioning all of. So, and this, I don't know if you guys already see like so it works with CloudFormation. So if I come here now and go to CloudFormation, a stack must have been created. It's going to see everything that is happening in here is using Elastic as storage for environment data and what have you. So it's creating a security group. I don't know why it's creating a security group again. So we see that is stack, an Elastic Beanstalk environment, named mobile app. So all of those things that you selected, well, only EC2 instance now. Okay, maybe I think I selected Elastic IP address. So see all of those things would be, it's creating an auto scaling group just because it thinks I need it. So all of those things happening underneath the hood just from all of that configuration. It's just the initial configuration now that it's going to be a headache. But after that, you can go to rest and go and be writing code now. While all of this is waiting for EC2 instance, will take a few minutes. It has created, so yes, it creates an EIP. So Moban is going to pay for that. So I have nothing to fear. If you were Henry,
so after the creation, we can view the template file, right?
So again, we don't need a template. It handles all of that for you. So when we were configuring,
I know what I'm saying. Can you view to see the length of it? Is it possible to view it?
Yes, it will create. So once it's done, we would see all of the resources that it creates for you. Just give it a minute. So you have your auto scaling, your launch. So it creates a launch configuration. I don't know why they're using launch configuration because it's outdated. Yeah. So let's come back to EC2 now. So it will create all of those things for you. So let's come to launch templates. I think it's done creating that though. So no, these are old. Wait, this is wrong. This is not Virginia. So why is this showing me London? So you need to be very cognizant.
Because you want to go to London.
You have to be very cognizant of the region, else you just to shock you like, I'm not supposed to, or I'm supposed to have a service in here, but it's not showing me that service.
For me, it says congratulations, your first AWS Elastic Beanstalk Node.js application is now running on your dedicated environment in the AWS cloud.
We never even finished for class, Henry. Why? How? Why?
Now I'm that now. That's it, right?
So even before
Mobile US East one is going to take you there.
Oh.
Yeah.
You typed in this.
Yeah, that's it. No, I didn't type it. I just clicked on it, like you just did.
Do you have access to my AWS?
My own. I did my own.
Oh,
I
okay.
followed up with you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yes, yeah.
I fear. Is people cannot be trusted. You can be hackers secretly. All right. So depending on what you deploy, you can have this. And like I said, this is just one application. Inside of this application, you can have multiple environments. If I want to create an environment for, say, production now, I just go on and click on, so mobile app. I'm just going to call this my prod environment. And then, you can set all of the other settings that you can have. Obviously, it has to be a Node.js application. You can choose a fresh one, and then you can decide to do this for high availability because it's production, and then set up all of those things. Yeah. So in a nutshell, that is, so if I come to my EC2 now, I should see an instance running. Yeah, so this is the mobile app. This is the instance that is housing this particular application. And the beauty is that you have access to it. You can decide to, go into it and see, where the application is sitting, run any customized, whatever it is that you want. I'm supposed to, there's no launch configuration. Okay, I don't think we created, yes. It was a single instance, so there was no need to actually create. So if you had created for a multiple for high availability, you have all of this auto scaling,
load balance,
auto configuration, and all of those things. Right now, it's just probably my elastic IP that I would have. Yeah, and the beauty of this is once you delete that particular thing. So I have the mobile up running. Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward too. Yeah, it's not like it's pretty straightforward. I believe. So I can go ahead and delete this, and then everything would delete. So I think this is done. Creation complete. You can see all of the resources. I'm still surprised. Why are you telling me you created an auto scaling group when you did not? This thing is sleeping. There's no auto scaling group now. Actually created an auto scaling group, yeah. But it's just one instance. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I think this is actually necessary in case, but we only choose one. So whether the instance is overwhelmed or not, it will not scale out. So it defeats the whole purpose anyways. They're not very smart, PaaS. Yeah. So do you guys think you can replicate what we did yesterday using Beanstalk?
I think Beanstalk is friendly than what we did yesterday.
Yes, is like the automated. What we did was manual, but now Beanstalk would kind of automate all of that, manual creation of instances and all of those for you, and all of the other services.
We have to be like our teacher. We are lazy with work, so we'll go back to.
Yeah, do what I say, don't do what I do.
We have to use elastic Beanstalk.
Yes, so yeah, you would find out that for gigs now, you would be moving manually deployed applications to Elastic Beanstalk mostly. So
so if we delete the Elastic Beanstalk environment, what happens? Everything, all the artifacts that came out, all the associated artifacts goes away, right?
See, delete is in progress already. CloudFormation is deleting everything. So I don't have to worry about the Elastic IP because you could delete them for me. I'm sure this
I like the sound of that.
You see, like the sound of that. You don't have to worry about waiting for one that gateway to delete before you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
like you said, you don't want to give AWS 1 cent. I don't want to give them one. Listen, if there's anything less than a cent, I don't want to give them.
All right. Wow. Yeah. I doubt if 15 minutes would be enough to work on this, our last project, but I'm going to try. We'll probably go beyond this. Tomorrow is Monday, I beg. So serverless, like I said, is a very, very broad topic here. And for this, I'm just going to walk us through a scenario that actually found myself in. So in an organization that I work with here, they run ETL jobs. ETL is extracts, transform and load.
Load.
It's basically they take data, generated data from different applications that the organization uses, and then they use it to create after transforming and then loading it into the data warehouse. The BI guys now take use that to create dashboards that they use for what's that word now, to gain visibility into how they are performing, and how to manage business processes, take decisions, and all of those plenty things that upper management, that we technical people care little about. Yeah, so there are data engineers that actually work on the ETL jobs and what have you. Yeah, so yeah, and their ETL tool now is running on an EC2 instance, and the ETL is done in batches once a day in the middle of the night after business has closed, and then backups of the databases has been taken, and then it restores into a data warehouse before transformation is being done. Yeah, so the instance now that houses that ETL tool only needs to run once a day, but needs to be up and running just for the time that's that ETL process needs to run, and that's just for a specific period of time. So why run the EC2 instance 247 when it's only needed maybe for 2 hours of a day? So that's where that's like a one use case of what's how serverless can come into place. Again, there are more complex examples, use cases that I can talk about, but I'm just going to stick to this one. So what Lambda will do for us now is we can set up Lambda functions now that would start, it's Lambda functions is event driven. Yes, an event driven kind of service. Yeah, so it's called serverless because you don't worry about so many things managing. Again, depending on your use case now, you still have some form of infrastructure running, even though you won't worry about it. But for this use case I was talking about, so you can create Lambda functions that would trigger some form of maybe CloudWatch events, that runs in the morning, early hours of the morning when the EC2 instance, or well, the ETL tool needs to run, say maybe 3 a.m. It will well, obviously the instance must be running before the ETL gets triggered. So you can create functions that would start the EC2 instance, and maybe for 2-3 hours when all of that process needs to run, and then stop that instance when the process is done running. And that's you've automated that process. You don't have to come back to it again. So that's one application of a Lambda function. Another application is, so you have I hope that simple analogy paints, that is serverless for you. That's well, one of the use cases of serverless, and using Lambda for it as that. I strongly doubt that we'll be able to run that that scenario. Would have been nice though, but does that in a way paint the function of how Lambda works for you guys? Start and stopping of it looks very, very, you say, but I can always wake up by 3 a.m. and start the instance and go back to sleep and wake up by 5 a.m. and stop it. Yeah, but anything that you can automate, yeah, why?
But it's like a cron job, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it can be likened to, a cron job. Even yes, but this listens for an event. A cron job runs at interval. Yeah, but this
time. Yeah.
So the Lambda will be triggered by an event, say a CloudWatch event that is time-based now. So you can set it, okay, yes, this can be time-based, or you can actually, again, there are so many use cases. You can have Lambda listen for, say, an API call. With that, you'll be using it with your API gateway. Yeah. So say you have a shopping, an e-commerce website now, and then you want your Lambda function to only run when maybe when you're when they want to check out. Yeah. So once they hit on the checkout button, that's an API call to trigger. That's an event that's been triggered. So it would maybe pull in, say, a discount API that is just dormant that only gets called at certain
time. If you load the picture into an S3 bucket, you can trigger down as well. You can trigger it as well.
Yes. So there are so many, so many use cases. So many use cases. Yeah. So yes, you can have a trigger. Do I have a Lambda function here? So yes, can auto from scratch blueprints. So you can have so many use cases. I wish we could actually run this. So we can have different. So for the S3 that I just mentioned, say you want to, you have an S3 bucket now, and then you want that S3 bucket, say when, say, an image is pushed into that S3 bucket. So you can have an application that uses.
Sorry, I want to forget something. I want to say, everybody will take it. I don't know. My suggestion is instead of rushing over this thing, maybe we call me late on Saturday, maybe around 9 to 10. I don't know. Give my suggestion.
Okay, and run
so
this.
Can do it 1 hour.
I would love to run this. Okay. Okay. So we can make Saturdays, so you guys would have 2 hours to work on your project. And then anybody even having any issues on their projects, we can use the last hour to both unblock and then run through this particular Lambda. I think that would work. That's a very, very interesting, full suggestion.
I agree with that.
Makes sense, yeah?
Yeah.
Don't do rush over this thing.
Who else agrees to that? I need 2 or 3 witnesses.
I agree. I agree.
Please, I agree. I agree. When you're explaining your normal speed, we never really can't imagine full speed. Please, we agree.
My brain rest more.
Thank you, Hartford. Honestly, you are God sent. Thank you.
Again, Master Hartford is in the spirits. Is talk this night. It's not ordinary. It's from the third heavens. All right. Okay. So we'll run through this final step on Saturday then. So this last 2 step is, but I hope you guys understood both the Amplify and then what you guys need to work on. It's not an assignment per se, Balumi. It's just something that you should work on, to make you understand the AWS service, better and solidify your understanding of application deployments, basically. And yeah, I know you are an Azure person, so you probably want to go and replicate it in Azure. All the same, it's fine.
The moment I am not replicating because I'm still yet to understand it on AWS. I mean,
good. Good. All right. So
Moyo, what you want to sorry, Moyo, is the project what we did yesterday, or is something else you want to show us?
I didn't get that.
The project you're referring to, is it the one what we did yesterday, or something else you want to do?
Yes, particular one where you have a snapshot of the RDS and you have an image of your application running in the EC2. So that would make it easier to use Beanstalk to actually replicate this. So you must have actually worked on this for you to say you want to go ahead and use Beanstalk, basically. All right, guys, are there any other question, or we can call it the night?
May God help us.
Let's go for 10 minutes.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Have a fabulous week, and I'll be seeing you all next Saturday.
Thank you.
All right, bye everybody.
Henry will go mountain.
Apple, please help me drop the resource for yesterday, please. On the chat.
Is in what's the name of this?
Discord.
Discord.
Coach Moyo, I'm not there. You've not added me.
Dan, I added you. Dantavia.
Yes.
Danthavia.
Yes.
Yeah, I've added you.
Added to what? What am I missing, please?
To Discord. The
Discord now.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, you are there right now. Yeah, we did it. I've added you. I'll message you anyways, and then we'll rectify this. Hope. I just sent you a message, so it's on Discord. All right, guys. Have a good night. Have a good week.